This is Ryan Elliott for Boxing Social in association with Betfred. We're in Manchester today ahead of Parker-Chisora 2 coming up December 18th with me, promoter Eddie Hearn. Eddie, busy times for you. How are you?
Yeah, good mate. Back from Vegas. I was going through the reception of the hotel on Sunday, and Andy, your man, had messaged me a couple of times trying to get me, and I just ignored him. And as I was walking out with my bag, he's run over. Eddie, please, 5 minutes. I said, mate, my car's outside. I'm going to LA. I'm sorry. I'm not here to promote the show. So it was good. I enjoyed it. Obviously, great performance from Canelo. Good to be there almost like as a fan, to be honest with you, and just experience things a little bit differently.
Just pick that back up. Eddie, I saw you with Canelo afterwards, saw the photo you posted with him. I appreciate it was mostly celebrations, I'm guessing. Do you talk any shop, though?
No, not really. As I said, I wasn't promoting the show last week. I was there to support him as a friend. And the photo after was just him celebrating, us celebrating, went to dinner after, then went to this club where he was a sort of special guest for, which was absolutely mental. I had to get out of there quite quickly because it was packed. And just happy for him. When we started working together, he had a dream to be undisputed, and that was really this time last year. And although we did 3 of the 4 fights, not all of them, I knew what it meant to him and Eddie Reynoso, and I was really pleased to see him achieve it. I think they're great people. I love the passion that they have for boxing, and the passion they have to create a legacy. And yeah, I was chuffed for him, and I don't see anyone beating him at 168 really. And I don't know what the challenges are ahead, but there will be challenges, and obviously our intention will be to try and put some options to him where we can work together again in the future.
That was kind of what I was coming on to. He's going to be so hard to match in what people will see as a competitive fight now. What fights can you put forward to work with Canelo moving forward?
Well, there's a few. I mean, look, I think the biggest fight, arguably the biggest fight in boxing, is the Gennady-Golovkin trilogy fight. Which would now be for the undisputed 168-pound championship, which would make it even bigger. That's a fight that we could do, obviously, with the zone. Moving up to 175, Dimitri Bivol is another fight we could do for Canelo Alvarez. Coming to the UK with a few options for Canelo Alvarez as well. So I think, to be honest, he's in such a great position, and it's worked really well for him over the last year. What he'll do is probably in a month or so is he'll say to everyone, what you got? And we'll say, here's our 3 or 4 options. PBC will say, here's our 3 or 4 options. Top rank might pile in, and he'll just look at them all, and he'll make another fight. I think it's worked. I think being a free agent, from a network perspective, is quite risky for fighters unless you're Canelo Alvarez or a major name. And if you look at the fluidity that he's been able to have, he wouldn't have become undisputed, I think, he wouldn't have. If he was just with one broadcaster, because you would have got to a logjam of winning all the belts. Then you've got a contract with, say, DAZN. Caleb Plant's on with PBC. They wouldn't let him fight on DAZN. So there was an opportunity for him to say, yes, okay, I'll accept your offer. I'll go and beat him and become undisputed. And I think it's good for boxing. It's difficult for a lot of people to do, but for his career, it's worked really well.
Just to come on to why we're here, Eddie, Parker-Chisora 2, December 18th. After the first fight, Derek Chisora was absolutely gutted. I know you said when you watched it live you felt he won the fight. He definitely felt he won the fight. Do you think he's going to come out and seek a conclusive win this time, given how discontent he's been with the Parker and the Usyk fights?
I think that the two things about Parker and Usyk fights were they were behind closed doors. And I was really worried how, Derek's a fighter that feeds off energy. And I worried about him fighting behind closed doors. I think he did brilliantly in both fights. I thought the Usyk fight was fairly close. I mean, Usyk won the fight, but Derek started really well in that fight. And the Parker fight, a lot of people believe he won that fight. I think with a packed-out Manchester arena, it will be very different. I don't think this fight goes the distance at all. And I think they'll both be a lot more aggressive. It was a good fight last time. This time, I think it will be a lot more lively because of the crowd. And you're right, for Derek, I know people talk about last chance saloon and stuff like that. He is coming off 2 losses. One in a fight that, arguably he should have got the decision. So he needs to win, quite frankly. And, Dave Coldwell here, he's training very hard. They're really confident they can beat Joseph Parker.
We talk about last chance saloon. If Derek Chisora, it would be a third successive loss. What awaits the winner, though?
Well, the winner, I mean, if you look at Joseph Parker now, he's extremely well ranked in the governing bodies, particularly with the WBO. He's right there. You know, he's knocking on the door of getting another world title shot. So if Chisora can beat him, I think that it's too, you know, with Derek and Derek's career, and I don't think he really even wants to talk about or what this could do for his career. He just wants to fight, and he wants to have a tear up, and he wants to entertain, and he'll do that every single time. So, yeah, once you start suffering successive losses, I mean, the reality is he's lost to the unified world heavyweight champion and a top five ranked in the world heavyweight. So it's not exactly the end of the world, but you never want to have, you know, back-to-back losses, let alone 3 of them. So he must win. You know, he must win this fight, and I think he may be the slight favourite going into this fight. But Joseph Parker now, with Andy Lee with more time, may gel better as well, and looks extremely fit, and looking forward to seeing him today.
Credit where due, some really interesting matchups on this card. Boaty-Vlasov, brilliant fight, but Gongora-Richards really intriguing as well. Talk to me about this card.
Yeah, I think it's one of the best cards we've put together. I mean, you know, sometimes you make big domestic clashes, sometimes you make, you know, massive names against much slightly weaker fight. This is just a really, really well-matched card. There's a lot of people that believe that Vlasov is actually a favourite going in against Boaty in this fight. I had him beating Joe Smith for the World Championship. I thought he should become WBO World Champion. This is the last big step up for Joshua Boaty. And you have to give him and his team credit. They've fought Bolotniks and now Vlasov. That's a good, strong run. You don't see the other, you know, light heavyweights in fights like that, whilst essentially they're waiting for a shot at the World Light Heavyweight title. So that's a brilliant fight. Everyone talking about Gongora against Richards, and I love the fact that Lerone has stepped up to take that fight. They're almost like two guys that probably quite avoided. You know, Lerone certainly avoided domestic and particularly at European level because he's very difficult to beat. Gongora comes out, beats Akhmedov, knocks him out in a fight of the year on the Golovkin card, comes out with a big win last time. It's for the IBO world title. It's a really good clash of styles and a good fight. Zelfa Barrett, massive opportunity for him. He fights in an IBF eliminator against Torimo, which is a really, really tough fight. I think it's number 3 and 4 with the IBF. We're promoting the vacant title, Agawa against Fusili. So Joe Caldina and Zelfa Barrett looking for a shot at that championship next. And Jack Cullen against Emre Kuka for the vacant European Super Middleweight Championship. Jack Cullen is an incredible story. He fights everybody. After defeat to Felix Cash, just kept going, bounced back, beat John Doherty, slung him in with Avni Yildirim, beats him, now gets a chance to become European champion. And that is a massive achievement for Jack Cullen. He's got brilliant people behind him, great fans from Little Lever. They're all going to be out in huge numbers. And loads else on the card. David Naika, the Olympic medalist, Sandy Ryan, Cyrus Patterson, Jordan Thompson back very quickly as well, Rhiannon Dixon from Manchester as well on the card. So I think it's a brilliant, brilliant card. You know, with December 11 a week before, December 18th, really strong finish to the year for us in the UK.
Just a couple more because I appreciate the press conference is starting soon. Ben Algieri's been announced. What do you want Conor Benn to learn in there against Chris Algieri? I
want him to win. It's a 50-50 fight. You know, I saw Chris Algieri in Vegas. This is a real pro. This is not, you know, a guy who's deluded. He's very, very smart boxer. He's a former world champion. He beat Provodnikov. He's got 3 defeats on his record. 1 against Pacquiao, 1 against Errol Spence, and a really close fight with Amir Khan. I think the 147 limit is going to suit Algieri because if you look at him on the scales at 140, particularly against Tommy Coyle, you know, I think it drains him right out, and he believes he's got more than enough experience and skill to beat Conor Benn. This is a really, really dangerous fight, and when you look at Ben's progression, you know, there's a lot of people criticising him, you know, talk about his opposition. His opposition over his last 4 fights, which have happened very quickly, by the way, are Formella, who in his fight before boxed Sean Porter. So it was all right for Sean Porter, but not for Conor Benn. Samuel Vargas, who in his fight before boxed Virgil Ortiz and had Amir Khan on his backside. Adrian Granados, and now Chris Algieri. That's a perfect run of fights. And, you know, I know a lot's been said about Abanesian and people like that. I'm being very honest about Abanesian. He's a really good fighter. And I think Conor needs one more before he fights those kind of level. And after, I've been very straight where I said Robert Guerrero, Chris Algieri, Virgil Ortiz, Victor Ortiz, not yet. These are the guys we want next. And we've got one of them. And after that, I'll tell you again, the guys that we want next. Amir Khan, Adrian Broner, David Avanesian, all of those guys will happen in spring and summer. And this is the progression of how you progress a world-class fighter. But Conor Benn is a massive draw. He's a massive name for British boxing, and he's taking the perfect steps at the right time. We've got a chance here for a massive, massive name for British boxing, but he's got to win, and it's a really tough fight.
Last one before I let you go. Frank Warren was on TalkSport and he said, regardless of whatever the WBC rules with Fury and White, Tyson Fury will do whatever suits him best, and he won't sort of adhere to anybody. How confident are you that fight will be next?
He's right. He can do what he wants. He can vacate the belt, he can retire, he can do anything. But if he wants to defend his championship, which he should do, I mean, I think he wants to stay active. Then we believe that, and at the convention next week, that mandatory will be ruled for Dillian Whyte to face Tyson Fury. I think Frank's right. Can do what he wants, but really, as a champion, you should face your mandatories, and it's a really good fight. So I do expect to see that fight happen.
Right, Eddie Hearn, thank you. It's always Sweet Boxing Social.